Good morning. I'd like to call to order the Housing and Urban Development Zoning Committee. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Alderman Cone,
Present.
Alderman Kotar, Alderwoman Boyd,
Present.
Alderman Gunther,
Here.
Alderman Narayan,
Here.
Alderman Todd,
Present.
Alderwoman Evans, Alderwoman Evans,
Present.
Alderwoman Peel,
Present.
Alderman Gross,
Here.
Alderman Lappy,
Present.
Alderwoman Keys,
Here.
Alderwoman Walker,
Present.
Chair Davis,
Present.
Alderman Kotar. We have 13 present. You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, do we have minutes from the last meeting?
We do not have any minutes at this time.
Thank you very much. We'll move on. Our first item of business today, we have one board bill, which is Board Bill 120. Alderman Bosley,
Good morning, members of the
good
committee,
morning.
Madam President, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
All right.
Go right ahead.
All right. Well, so I appreciate you all being here for Board Bill 120. Thank you to all the attendees as well. As you all know, we had some amendments that we've been working on. I've been working on with other members of the community, trying to ensure that we get some folks some funding that historically we wouldn't have or have the abilities to try to send their way. I've spoken with the mayor's office, members from the mayor's office, Mr. Boyd, and would like him, if he can, just speak to what it is that we've spoken to, if that's okay. Therefore, we can put on record what is kind of the next step in these businesses being able to access, the funding that we're trying to ensure that they have access to.
Yes, sir. So
Good
you
morning.
there you go, Jared Boyd. Okay.
Good morning, distinguished members of the committee and everyone else on the board. I extended an opportunity to Alderman Bosley as I would to any of you. And as many of you saw last week, SLDC announced the rollout of neighborhood managers across the city. And one of the roles of the neighborhood manager is to really learn about businesses on the ground and other organizations that are in the fabric of these neighborhoods already doing fantastic work. So as I would for Alderman Bosley or any other neighborhood that has a new neighborhood manager, I would extend a meeting with that neighborhood manager to those businesses to learn more about other funding opportunities that the board has so graciously passed with economic justice or other aspects of ARPA that are just getting started. It has taken us a long time to build the infrastructure and be intentional about building that infrastructure so that we can spend money the right way and with community and in community. So now that we have our neighborhood managers, I've extended an opportunity to meet with all of the businesses that expressed interest in ARPA funding. And that is, like I said, an opportunity I would extend to many of you that now have new neighborhood managers as well. We've already met with the Griot Museum, who have been in the community for a while and may have some opportunities in several different places that they were not familiar with. So everything, like I said, that I'm extending to Alderman Bosley is something that I'm more than willing to extend to other alders with our new neighborhood managers that we're really excited to work with.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Alderman,
So-
may I share something as well?
Absolutely, please.
All right, thank you. I wanted to share that I had an opportunity to speak with Lois Conley at the Griot. I go back when it first started. I've been there that long. And because of my love for the arts have had an opportunity to help build the arts community all over this region, not just in my ward. I have extended myself, even though I'm not going to be an alderperson after April. I will be there by your side to help her get to where she needs to be, and make sure that those appropriate introductions are made and get her to some funding sources that she didn't know about. Because it is a critical initiative that must be saved and improved upon. And so I'm extremely committed, sir.
Yes, ma'am. And that's appreciated. Once again, these businesses have been asking for help, and not to say that the city has never helped, but we need a substantial amount of help, for businesses that have not had access. And with us having access right now, I just want to make sure that, within the powers that I do have, we try.
Yes,
That's just, what it is. And I really appreciate you, extending your arm as well. That's extremely important for us to, kind of work together, even if we're not going to be
Yes.
here. So thank you.
Yes.
That's right.
Okay.
So for the other businesses that once again have come, we also have, my brother Leon Bell, who did not get a chance to speak last time. I don't know if he signed up. My apologies. I believe it's only one person though, but he's come multiple times. I just wanted to at least speak to his project. He had a few, about 10 houses along in St. Louis Place that the association owned. And, they just needed some stabilization. So, if there are stabilization funds out there that we can speak to, that we know about for.
So why don't you let Mr. Bell, Madam Clerk, can you make it possible for Mr. Bell to speak? That's the only speaker you have, and we'd like to know about his project. And I'm curious. They call me the creeper. I go find out about everybody, so I want to hear.
That's right.
I would just need for
Thank you.
Mr. Bell to provide me with his email address so I can send him a link.
Hey, Mr. Bell, you on? If you can provide him with your email address real quick, let me send it to him.
I see him. He's in the, okay, I got him. I'll move him over. Hold on.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, he should be in the meeting. I just need a video.
Mr. Bell,
Hello, can you hear me now?
we can hear you.
Yes, sir,
Can you
we can
turn
hear
your
you.
video
Oh.
on?
Oh, sorry, it's technical. We have some technical problem with this phone.
Okay. When you get your video on, the clerk is going to swear you in so you can speak.
Yeah. How's everybody this morning?
Fine,
Madam-
sir. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, Brandon spoke on it briefly, but we've been around since
So,
1990.
Mr. Bell, our process is we need to swear you, our clerk will swear you in, but we do need to have your video on.
Okay, we're trying to see why.
Yeah, we had it on at one time and it just went off.
Just take a moment. Don't, just
Am I
take a
back?
moment. You'll figure it out.
With the background. I can see me, but you guys, I'm not on.
I don't know why it's not giving us to you.
I don't know why it's not going through, Madam Chair.
Okay, I'm going to ask the committee to indulge Mr. Bell. And Madam Clerk, go ahead and swear him in so he can speak.
Okay, I can see me on my phone, but I don't see me in the group.
That's okay. We're going to move forward, Madam
Oh.
Clerk.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Bell, do you affirm or swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Go right ahead and speak, sir. You have 3 minutes.
Yes, I'm with Pruitt Agro Development. It's a 501c3 nonprofit started their rehab back in 1989 and started
He muted himself.
Okay,
You're
Yeah.
back, sir. Go right
Oh.
ahead.
okay, we started rehab back in 1992. We have 7 properties in the 1800 block of 20th Street and 4 properties in the 1600 block of Helen Street. We have not received funding of any kind since 1992. And much needed repairs has been neglected for decades. With no success, I have reached out to our alderman several times over the years, and funding wasn't available. I tried with LSC Development Agency and St. Louis Equity Fund, and we have struggled trying to keep up with maintenance and all other bills. We have off and on vacancies on 20th Street, and Helen Street has been had a major repair and only one occupied on Helen Street. PIDC has been a pillar in the 3rd and 5th ward by continuing to provide affordable housing. During 2019 and 2020, 2021, and 22 to present, we are much further behind because of COVID, the pandemic. Renters could not pay rent. Rental assistance took months for it to come through. For one tenant came in since that time, been kicked out. And we haven't received any yet, which put us in a greater financial crisis. We need to pay utility bills, multiple maintenance bills, all buildings, outdated heating, cooling, appliance, and roofing, tuck pointing, and interior and exterior work. We have incorporated with Community Peace Garden to support our community with fresh veggies, and seniors in the neighborhood join with us with Helen Unified Block Club to continue our neighborhood station monitoring our surroundings and keeping our space clean from trash and vandals and crime. Have our youth mentoring team, Bullhorn veterans taken back to community, mentor school bus stop in the morning and evening, and patrol school grounds. We are partnering with Brown Bear Food Service that will provide nutritional meals for seniors and children, teach kids the fundamentals and the benefit of growing their own vegetables and creating their own garden, how to make it and market it in this community. We will have, we have addressed behavior problems with our youth in our community. Through it, I go will lead the way in our ward in making our community safe and better place for family to live while providing affordable housing. And I got much more, but what I want to do, Madam Chair, is put together a package for you, Ms. Davis, and let you see all the things that we have incorporated in the last 5 or 6 years. We've been doing this for a long time, but we've received zero funding from anyone. We have not received any funding. You know, I requested funding. I started a Unified Block Club to clean up Helen Street because a lot of drugs and activity and vandals were going on. And none of these houses on Helen Street have been vandalized. Keep a close watch. And also the ones on 20th Street have not been vandalized because we kept a close watch on them. So we just need funding to do some major repairs, outdated supplies like the furnaces, the air conditioning units, and much more. And if you come and look down 20th Street, now they have a transportation monitoring unit there. They're going to have some type of infrastructure going on 20th Street. So I don't know exactly what that in detail what that is, but I know that they had a meeting over at the Polish Heritage, and I don't know exactly what took place there, but I need to know what's going to go on 20th Street. They're going to widen the infrastructure. No, but find out because we do have 7 buildings there, and also Brown Bell Food Service is one of the our associates that help us through the community and cleaning up the area and trying to produce nutritional food for the neighborhood. And here she is. Here she can speak on her.
The time is up.
Is my time up?
That's the time. Yes, ma'am.
The time is up. What I'd like to share with you and the alderman. There's no reason for you to remember me, Mr. Bell, but I remember you when you bought your second piece of property. I was the housing director in Hyde Park, all the way up to Bayton and all the way over to Old North St. Louis. So what we have on board listening to you is all of the major departments, most especially SLDC with Neil Richardson. We should be able to get you into the system of understanding where resources are. Because one of the things that we all get confused sometime on is just which way to go. It's so much out here. And I'm sure that with your alderperson, providing them with your correct information, that you will be connected to all of the free services that are provided to help you put that package together. That's the other good thing about it too, that we now have an empowerment center along with the business managers that can help you do that. You won't have to do it by yourself. The Community Development Agency also has a path of funding for business investors, because technically one of the things most people don't understand it is not the responsibility of the city of St. Louis to pay it the entire expenses for any project, but we do have some avenues that can assist you, and we want to make sure you know about every last one of them. And I'm going to say to our Chief of Staff of the Mayor, Jared Boyd, and to Neil Richardson, and to Noel Pfeffer, that it is critical. Oh, I left out Department of Human Services when you talked about the food assistance. There's so many ways for you to help us help our residents because you are willing to do the work. I appreciate you and Alderman Bosley for bringing you forward. So thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
All right. Alderman Bosley.
Thank you, Alderman Bosley, as well.
Alderman Bosley, I'm back to you for closing.
Oh, there we go. Mute.
There you go.
Sorry about that. All right. So with that, definitely appreciate it. Thank you again, Chairwoman. Thank you as well, Mr. Bell. We can move forward without the amendments. And once again, with the understanding that we can reference this and folks can know that we do have the door open to be able to access the information that's needed for folks to be able to move their projects forward and continue to do the great things that they're already doing in our neighborhoods.
All right.
All right.
Thank you. So if we're not going to have any amendments, the chair will entertain a motion.
Madam Chair,
pass.
I have my hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see it. Now it just
Oh,
popped up.
crap. Yeah,
There you
sorry.
go. I'm so sorry. Go right ahead, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have an amendment for the board bill, which would basically provide the $400,000 to the Parks Department versus specifically to Hyde Park to allow the Parks Department to administer those funds directly. I think that if we're talking about providing park funding in this specific bill, then we need to be equitable in how we're distributing those funds and not putting them towards the target line item, excuse me. So I have amendment number 6 on the drive that I would like to have considered by the committee.
All right, sir.
I'm sorry.
Alderman Bosley.
What I would say to that, Alderman Cone, is that I do understand the point in making it equitable. If you would like to possibly take it out of the funding source that you wanted to take it out of beforehand, so the point of this being in Hyde Park, number one, is this is one of the busiest streets in the entire city that this runs along. And we have a not to say one section is more important than the other, but you know what, that's just getting into a whole nother argument. Won't even do that.
This
There's
was
a lot of,
this was a recommendation of the mayor's office, Alderman. I mean, it's not my preference, but it was the recommendation of the mayor's office.
May I speak on behalf of the mayor's office?
I
Yes,
was going
please.
to ask you to do that, sir. Go right ahead.
I know that we've had conversations with Alderman Cone about this and his, I guess, his opposition just based on equity in terms of kind of picking winners and losers with this. And we've, you know, this is almost like an earmark in regards, but I mean, at the end of the day, this is probably less than 1% of the overall allocation. So we respect his, I guess, choice to kind of look at this and make this more equitable. But at the end of the day, it's less than 1% of the overall appropriation. So, you know, you all can determine how to best use this money, whether it's in Hyde Park or somewhere else. But like I said, at the end of the day, it's less than 1% of the overall appropriation that's critical to the city of St. Louis.
well, so I'll say this to that. If we're talking about equitability, if we look at North Side parks versus South Side parks and the actual parks in the city of St. Louis in general, we don't at all have equitability. I mean, like the amount of funding that goes in certain places is, you know, definitely not equitable. So, I mean, I would say, you know, if we want to go ahead and break it up, then let's do that. But what, you know, that's a little interesting. If we're talking less than, what you said, less than 1%. And how are we supposed to decide where it goes? Is it the alderman supposed to do this? The Parks Department decides it?
Well, one thing we do know is the Board of E&A, board bill has severability in it, and they can make those decisions as well on our behalf. And I don't think there'll be a problem.
Okay.
Alderman Cone?
Yeah, the challenge for me has not been about winners or losers. The challenge for me has been that Marquette Park serves the largest and densest concentration of young people in this entire city. And to have a board bill that has been touted by the mayor's office and by others as a, you know, transportation traffic infrastructure bill with a earmark in it for a specific neighborhood park in the city. Alderman, Marquette Park also has high visibility in the neighborhood, also has, one of the highest concentrations of crime in the city. And, you and I have had that conversation as well. So this isn't, again, this was directly a recommendation from the mayor's office in terms of trying to address some of these concerns. I still have grave concerns about the rest of the bill. We're talking about this being less than 1% of the entire bill. I've got the sidewalk map behind me. This is North St. Louis. These are the 50-50 sidewalk requests in North St. Louis. You can see there's very few of them. So North St. Louis is not going to be receiving sidewalk improvements at the level that they should be based off of this board bill. Most of the southwest quadrant of this city is where those 50-50 service requests are coming in from. That's where that sidewalk spending, that $6 million is going to be going. Not to say that they shouldn't, but and it's been discussed here ad nauseum already, but that 50-50 sidewalk program is already problematic. There are certain parts of the city, including my own, I know I'm blocking it currently, but if you look at Southeast City, there's not that many service requests. It's very difficult to get a investor-owned property that, is either vacant or, occupied, but owned by someone in California, Arizona, wherever, to even give a crap about the sidewalks in front of their 4-family or 2-family or single family. They don't care. They're not putting in a service request and then offering to pay for half of it. They're just not doing it. And the sidewalks are falling apart all over North St. Louis and Southeast City. So I want all of the advocates that are, out here testifying in favor of this bill who live on Nebraska, live near Broadway. This is not going to change the sidewalk conditions in our neighborhoods. It's not, at least not based off of the testimony provided to date as to how it's going to be determined those funds be spent. That $6 million has repeatedly been told to us at this committee that they're going to be using the 50/50 sidewalk application backlog in terms of how they're going to spend that $6 million. This map shows you where that money is going. It's not going to North St. Louis largely. It's not going to Southeast St. Louis largely. So let's be honest. If we're going to talk about equity and we're going to talk about, improving our transportation infrastructure, the other thing, we have, millions and millions of dollars going into paving and things of that nature. The president of the Board of Public Service said that there would be modest improvements to paving. We're not talking about road diets here. And these are major arterials that get more attention than most of our neighborhood arterials get. So again, you're talking about streets like Jefferson, Broadway, Union, et cetera. Those streets, by and large, get more attention all the time. I can't speak to every, part of the city here, but I can certainly talk about Virginia Avenue, which has 7,000 cars per day. It has the bus route, the number 73. It has tons of pedestrian traffic right there. It will not benefit from this, even though there's a huge amount of infrastructure needs along that stretch. So yes, this might be less than 1% of the bill, but this bill is being touted and advocated for by organizations that, frankly, I'm surprised that they haven't done more of due diligence with respect to how these funds are going to be spent. And I'm unfortunately, I think they're going to be woefully surprised at the lack of improvements that actually happen from this board bill. There will be repaving. There might be some restriping. It is not going to be considerably affecting the outcomes that we currently experience in the city. The Digital Equity Fund, which is, Alderman, as you know, where I was originally going to, reappropriate some monies from. We've had the mayor's office tell us that those funds are yet to be determined. If you go back 2 committee hearings ago, you can literally hear them, quote unquote, undetermined. We do not know how those monies are going to be spent right now. All we've been told is that they will be used for matching grants for federal funding that's coming down the pipe. We don't know what that federal funding looks like. We don't know what grants are being applied for, or at least if we do, it has not been shared publicly in this committee hearing. And verbatim, quote unquote, undetermined. Digital Equity Fund, millions of dollars that we're putting in there, undetermined. So, I appreciate the mayor's office saying that this is, about winners and losers. It's not. It's literally about how we're spending money in our city, how it's being dispersed equitably across our city, and targeting areas that hopefully will be able to change some of the outcomes that we've been discussing here, or at least the community advocates have been discussing when they've been testifying in favor of this board bill. So, again, I'm putting forth the amendment at the recommendation of the mayor's office. I'd like to take a vote on it. I'm not happy with it, Alderman.
So I was just going to ask, so you
I'm not
did
happy with the board bill.
So you did not ask them to, just to be clear, so you didn't ask the mayor's office to make this amendment? That's what.
In my conversations with the mayor and the mayor's staff, expressing my concerns around this board bill, this was one of the recommendations that was provided.
Understood. So I thought the chief of staff just said you recommended it. Okay. So with that, would you be amendable, Alderman Cone? Because I actually agree with everything that you just said, without a doubt. That's one of the reasons why I was kind of picking at certain things. I saw the map as well. It wasn't as visible, but you know, I agree. You know, we won't be seeing a whole lot of that funding. So, but you know, would you be amenable to possibly making an amendment to where we split it? Because if nobody else is asking for it, we did throw it out there. Just throw 200,000 to Marquette and then 200,000 to Hyde Park. I tell you what, I'm just trying to build a splash garden, a little splash park out there so we can get something, people a reason to come to the park. Give
Yeah,
these kids
and
something to do when it's hot outside.
Alderman, the money that I'm requesting for Marquette, it's already part of the park's recommendations for improvements to the park. It's not part of any new project. This is literally a list of needs that's been identified by the Parks Project. It's been on the citywide capital. I'm just trying to, like, you know, bite off small chunks to try and address the capital needs within the park. The park's not even in my ward, but it services residents and kids that live in my ward. If you're fine with that, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I'll have to go off camera for a minute so I can send the adjusted amendment over to the clerk so that they can put it in the drive for everyone to consider.
Okay.
All right, hold on for just a moment. Madam Chair, are you okay with that?
Yeah, right.
I'm okay with whatever you all are doing because I don't agree with either one of you. And it's not for me to steer this one way or the other. So go forward.
Well, what is your recommendation?
Because we have money that is already earmarked for those, and I don't know if either one of you remember, the board bill that was passed for the North St. Louis corridors. And the reason why you don't see as many requests in North St. Louis is because the alderpersons, we have chosen over the years to pay for 50/50 and not have our residents have to pay anything. And so it gets done. I've been doing it for, I know, 10 or 12 years because so many circumstances come up. The people don't have the money when it's time to do it, various things. So it's easier for us to just pay for their sidewalks. And so there aren't that many requests out there. And we have a very, very strong opportunity. You just read there are additional infrastructure funds coming from the state level. We already have another batch of money that has to be appropriated. And I'm not understanding why everybody is not looking at everything. This is not the only funds available to us. I'm very upset that the conversations and understandings of how to move forward to resolve these things have not been clear among the various entities. So I'm going to sit back and it's up to the committee people to vote this up or down. End of story. Thank you.
Gotcha. So I guess to be clear, we're not messing with any of the sidewalk money or anything. There was 400,000 allocated to Hyde Park by itself. And what we're doing is just splitting that and giving half of that to Marquette Park and the other half to Hyde Park. Therefore, it's just splitting half of, you know, I think that kills the argument.
There's plenty of money that's been allocated to parks. Parks even receives additional money that the citizens approve that's there and available for parks and recreation. So I don't understand. I don't understand. But again, move forward. It's up to the committee to vote.
Alderman, thank you for your suggestion here. I did just send the recommended language over to the clerk. Tracy, I'm not sure if you have access to that or if there's someone else from the clerk's office that can help put that uploaded into the drive for us.
Kennedy is gonna upload it.
Is he aware?
Yes.
Okay.
So just give me just 1 second or 1 minute.
And I guess this would be amendment number 1, since we haven't actually put before us any other amendments.
Oh, I wanted to go back to our Chief of Staff, Jared Boyd, please.
Are there any questions or clarification that you would like me to make, Madam Chair? Because I can address kind of the digital equity fund statements and kind of the overall thought process with respect to sidewalks or federal grants.
I wanted you to, because I touched on it, but I prefer you to give the absolute, okay? Go right
Sure.
ahead, sir.
Sure. With respect to the digital equity fund allocation, I think it's important to contextualize the statements that our Chief Technology Officer made with respect to not being able to provide specificity. And the reason that we're not able to provide the level of specificity that we would like is because the funds are flowing through the state of Missouri, and the state of Missouri has not set forth the program criteria. We recognize that once those federal funds flow to the state and are in the hands of the state, they are responsible for setting up the program criteria for the funds, which they have not done so. We realize that we are nearing the end of appropriating ARPA funds. If the committee so chooses and the board so chooses to appropriate the infrastructure dollars, we will not have another opportunity to set aside these matching funds for digital equity. So, the timing of conversations is not always optimal. Sometimes when we're waiting for our state partners, but that's just kind of the hand that we've been dealt in this situation thus far. With respect to sidewalk funding, I think we were quite clear and candid in our communications and the letter that we sent to the board that the 50-50 sidewalk program is legislation that the board previously passed. If the board is interested in changing the way that sidewalks are funded, we're willing to be a partner in that discussion and to make that process more equitable. But we are charged with administering a program that has been given to us and that people have put in requests for. So our position is, like I said, we feel that it's appropriate to deal with these requests and then to move forward with the board and figuring out if there's a better way to do this going forward. With respect to traffic calming, while this is a historic investment, we realize this is not enough. And this investment is really about doing something right now, but also putting us in a position to get larger federal infrastructure dollars and being competitive. There was a commenter at the last meeting that spoke about Detroit getting over $20 million in federal funds for the through Safe Streets. I was candid. I said, we're behind a lot of places.
Way back.
We're in competition for federal funds and we are behind. I feel like I'm not selling folks dreams on this. We are behind, and if we want to compete for these large federal dollars, then we need to get in the game and make some investments now so that we can pull down those dollars later.
Well, I do know that part, and I'm glad to see that you all are working closer with the National Leagues of Cities, because they are in the forefront, most especially for urban areas, to help us in, first of all, knowing about the additional funds, but helping and guiding us on how to apply for them and getting more support for them. I just saw that your amendment is now ready, Alderman Cone.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Can I inquire of the Mayor's Chief of Staff?
Yes, sir.
Jared, thank you. I want to be clear. I'm not opposed to the funds within the Digital Equity Fund. So I simply am stating that we have yet to understand the programs that are going to be available from the state, the application process from the state. And so the expenditures, as mentioned, by the IT director, are still yet undetermined. So I appreciate that, but I've been advocating for 14 years for more sidewalks across the city, and I'm excited that we have the opportunity to do that. I am concerned, however, about how we're going to be doing that. I understand the 50-50 sidewalk program is something that was passed by the Board of Aldermen, but are you saying that the mayor's office would be willing to work with alder people, whether it's this board of 28 or the future board of 14, on how these $6 million are going to be spent outside of the 50-50 program? So I don't know if you're aware or not, but many of us through Ward Capital also try to provide 100% sidewalk replacement for areas that are desperately in need, where landlords are not going to be, or investors are not going to be replacing those sidewalks. They're not going to apply for 50-50, but literally the sidewalk is cracked, crumbled, raised, non-existent. So I don't know if you all have done your due diligence and gone back and looked at, various Ward Capital programs and expenditures to see how many have actually done 100% sidewalk replacement. Are you saying that that's something that the administration is willing to work with us on, or are we just strictly adhering to the 50-50 program backlog with this $6 million?
Sure. I think we've said that these $6 million would be used to address the 50-50 backlog. But I would also add that, there's STL Works sidewalk funding that is yet to be passed, 1, and 2. We really haven't engaged the board thus far on the proposed reallocation of Ward Capital. I, like I said, quite honestly, have not been a part of those conversations, and our administration has not been a part of those conversations. But I think we're amenable to talking about STL Works and getting more involved in the Ward Capital discussions.
So the $6 million, though, there's no discussion on that. It will purely just be based off of the 50-50 backlog.
That is my understanding. We have had no internal discussions about changing the way in terms of, I think we've been pretty consistent about where we said the funds were coming and where that $6 million number came from. And that's in part where the $6 million number came from. Bethany, am I missing anything?
No, you are absolutely correct. The numbers that were given were from the backlog of requests that we've had, that those funds will be spent on the backlog of 50-50 sidewalk requests.
Okay. I guess the flip side to that is some aldermen are funding 50-50 sidewalk and some don't. So the alder people who have been spending money, going through their 50-50 program that might not have as much of a backlog. Because I can tell you for at least the years that I've been an alderman, which is, 14 years now, whenever I meet with the streets department, I ask, how much they need for 50-50. I give them that every single year. So there shouldn't be much of a backlog in the 25th ward because I provide that to them every year. So the 25th ward's also getting punished in that respect because I actually do fully fund the 50-50 sidewalk program every single year. So that's just another example of how that's really not logical in terms of how we're spending that $6 million and how it's not going to benefit everyone equally across the city. But I'll digress from that. It rubs me the wrong way to no end, but I'll move forward with my amendment, Madam Chair. So I believe it's amendment number 1 that's in the drive. And this is now the recommendation of the sponsor, the alderman from the 3rd Ward. And I very much do appreciate your suggestion, Brandon, and I thank you very much for being willing to work with me on this. So I'd like to introduce amendment number 1 to Board Bill 120.
Are you you're moving to introduce Board Bill number 1?
As a member of the committee, I'll move that we adopt amendment 1 to Board Bill 120.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
It's been moved in second. to adopt amendment number 1. Let's go through the committee. It's been a lot of conversation, and committee members, let's hear them, and then we'll take a vote. Okay? Is that okay with you, Alderman Cone?
Yeah, just a reminder, it's germane to the amendment, not the board bill as a whole.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. I see Alderman Coder's not here. Alderwoman Boyd?
So we're referring to the dollars. How much dollars are we referring to?
So this is the amendment, as the alderman from the 3rd Ward mentioned earlier. There's a line item in the board bill currently for $400,000 for Hyde Park, and he's willing to provide $200,000 to Marquette out of that line item. So the amendment basically divides the $400,000 that's already in the board bill allocated for the parks.
Okay, and so I guess my question, because I keep hearing about this for the parks. So the 1/2 cents parks funds that you received, that doesn't cover the project that you wanted to do, that you all are trying to do? I'm just asking a question for clarity.
Are you speaking about Marquette?
Yeah, I'm speaking to either one of the older people, because it seems like 200,000. So is this 200,000 in addition to your 1/2 cents that you already give for parks?
This would be it's $400,000 that's from the ARPA spending that's already in the bill.
Right.
And then it's splitting that $400,000, 200,000 between Hyde Park and 200 for Marquette Park. My understanding, and you'd have to ask the alderman from the 3rd, but he's working on putting a splash pad in Hyde Park. I am just trying to get through a backlog of, critical needs that's been addressed by the Parks Department and was brought up in the City Capital Committee. Alderwoman, I don't know if you recall that or not, but it was on the Parks Department list. So it's just the capital infrastructure needs for Marquette Park that's identified by the Parks Department.
Right, and
not able to
I
get through.
get, I got that. So I'm just asking, from the dollars that we get, each older person get for our parks, that's not a part of that. You don't have.
Correct.
For that. Okay,
Correct.
that's what I was trying to get clarity, because you went all the way.
Gotcha.
Okay, thank you. I was like, I'm on the deck. You went around the boat. I'm trying to.
Sorry, Alderwoman.
All right, thank you, Shane. Thank you.
Of
Thank
course.
you, Alderman
Okay.
Fox.
Alderman Gunther?
Welcome.
I don't have any questions.
All right, sir. Alderman Narayan?
No questions, just a slight bit of frustration that, all of a sudden in an infrastructure bill, we're discussing parks, and, I know that I certainly, and I'm sure that other folks on this call here have pressing infrastructure needs that should be funded. And the fact that we're just putting forward amendments that completely leave out parts of the city when it comes to infrastructure. We've needed actual, federal money to come down to McCausland, just south of 40, for decades. And the fact that that's been completely left out of this bill, despite my discussing it several times with the administration, I had understood that we were going to be passing this bill out of committee without any amendments today. But I'll be supporting getting this out of committee, but I will be bringing an amendment on the floor to include McCausland in this bill. And if that amendment is not included, I will not be supportive of this bill moving forward. And that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, sir. Thank you. Alderman Todd?
I support the bill, but I don't support any amendments. I think any amendments could be probably added on the floor. I would just like to see this bill just go to the board because I think there's good things in it. I think I heard the chairwoman say that it can also be taken up at the ENA. So I think we should just pass the bill out without any amendments. And then I'm not gonna vote for any amendments that are placed on the bill. I just would like to see the bill passed out of committee and then dealt with when it gets to the floor.
All right, sir. Thank you. Alderwoman Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no questions at this time.
Thank you. Alderwoman Peel.
Yeah, good morning. I don't have any questions at this time. I am supportive of this bill in terms of what it is going forward now. And also speak on Alderman Narayan's behalf regarding McCausland, and the issues on that particular street have been prevalent for a long time, and the expense for getting that street repaved is really important. So thank you, everyone, for the discussion today.
All right. Alderman Gross.
I just want to be clear on the procedure right now. So currently, the current bill does have the 400,000 line item for Hyde Park. So this amendment would just then give 200,000 of that to Marquette Park. And if this amendment wouldn't pass, then it would revert back to the current, which would be all 400 to Hyde Park.
Right.
But the current, the first amendment that you brought up about giving it to the Parks Department, did that, or are you going to bring that up if this amendment fails? Alderman from the 25th, or?
I might. I might have a couple other amendments too if this fails. So.
Okay. I mean, I feel like just my general comments on the matter, I'm frustrated along with kind of some of the same frustrations as Alderman Narayan. I just feel like, it's an infrastructure bill. We could get it out as an infrastructure bill, and it's not perfect, it's not clean. I think that there are a lot of things that need our help in this city, and I really actually appreciated, a lot of the conversations we've had the last couple of weeks about hearing, about some of them. But at the end of the day, I just think that we're trying to do infrastructure. We're trying to do the whole city. So I don't really like kind of any line items for specific, I mean, I know there's some line items for roadway projects that are completed, but I don't know. This I would prefer if we would decide to give money to parks, I would prefer we just give it to parks and say that, we're giving it to parks. But at the same time, getting this bill through the committee and on the floor this week and pass the number one thing. So I will admit that I'm not going to die on this hill, and I'm going to get the bill through. But I would really, I would wish that we would have an amendment that would send it to parks, although the money as a whole.
You're welcome to put that amendment forward too, Alderman. It's still in the drive, I think.
Okay, nothing further from me at this.
But again, the $400,000 is already in the bill for a specific park allocation. This is just simply splitting the money that's already in the bill.
No, I understand.
Okay. Alderman Lappy.
I don't have any questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Alderwoman Keys.
Good morning, Madam Chair, and thank you all. No, I do not have any questions at this time, but I will mention that I am always concerned about equity. And being here in North City, we talk about the 50-50 program. I look at the ability of a lot of our residents to be able to afford even 50-50. So that's kind of my concern. I'm still listening, and as you know, we're still kind of new. I'm still learning, but that is it at this time. I yield.
Thank you. Alderwoman Walker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no questions.
All right. We're back to Alderman Cone. So we've had committee discussion. Oh, I'm sorry. Is there any alderperson that's not on committee that wanted to comment? Madam Clerk, help me look, because I'd be missing hands.
Only hand I see is Alderwoman Evans.
Okay. Alderwoman Evans?
Yes, I just want to make a statement as well. In lieu of the 50-50 program, I always opt to pay the whole thing. So I don't know, how that ties into this bill or whatever, but what I do as an alderperson, I pay the whole thing instead of the 50-50. So the bill that we're voting on now, well, that should not interfere with me still doing that, should it? Or will it?
You will not have to do it because we'll have funds there to take care of it.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right. Alderman Gross?
Yes. Oh.
Okay, maybe that was a mistake.
Do the file, sorry.
Okay. Alderman Cone?
I renew my motion, Alderwoman or Madam Chair.
Okay. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Alderman Gunther? I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong
Yeah.
list. I'm sorry. One
That's
moment.
okay.
One moment, please. Alderman Cone?
Aye.
Alderman Kotor? Alderwoman Boyd? Alderman Gunther?
Aye.
Alderman Narayan?
Aye.
Alderman Todd?
No.
Alderwoman Evans?
Aye.
Alderwoman Peel? Alderman Grass?
Aye.
Alderman Lappy?
No.
Alderwoman Keys?
Aye.
Alderwoman Walker?
Aye.
Chair Davis? Alderman Kotor? Alderwoman Peel?
Aye.
Chair Davis?
Aye.
We have 9 aye votes, 2 noes.
You have 10 votes.
Oh, Alderwoman Boyd?
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry.
That's okay.
We have 10 aye votes, 2 noes.
Thank you all.
Alderman, now we're back to Alderman Bosley.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you all. So we'll make this short and simple. If any, I don't know if you want to entertain questions, but I am putting forth, I'd like to put forth, was already put forth, right?
Yes,
No,
an
but
amendment.
I'd be willing to make the motion that we adopt Board Bill 120 as amended.
Second.
It's been moved and second to adopt Board Bill 120 as amended. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Alderman Cone,
Aye.
Alderman Kotor, Alderwoman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderman Gunther,
Aye.
Alderman Narayan,
Aye.
Alderman Todd,
No.
Alderwoman Evans,
Aye.
Alderwoman Peel,
Aye.
Alderman Grass,
Aye.
Alderman Lappy,
Aye.
Alderwoman Keys,
Aye.
Alderwoman Walker,
Aye.
Chair Davis,
Aye.
Alderman Kotor. We have 11 aye votes, 1 no.
All right. Thank you. With your vote, you passed the Board Bill number 120 as amended. The do pass recommendation, I thank you. Alderman Bosley, thank you. We can look forward to all the other good things that have come from.
Madam Chair, can I change my vote to a yes?
Absolutely.
Okay, sorry, I made a mistake.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
So that's noted. So
Thank
we
you,
have
sir.
we have 12 aye votes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, sir. Now we're going to move on our agenda. We're going to move on to the agenda item. We are going to have it. First of all, let me excuse Alderman Coder for necessary absence. And we're going to have a discussion now on the Todd plan. We have representatives from the SLDC office, as well as the building division. And Mr. Richardson, would you open for us first and or your designee? Okay, we'll come back to him. I see he had to leave. We do have online the director of the building division, Frank Oswald, and you are going to give us, you're going to share with us process and procedures with the building division and some future initiatives that you all are looking towards. Go right ahead.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I wanted to just mention that the building division oversees 6,836 vacant buildings at the moment in the city of St. Louis. Our job is to try to maintain and secure these buildings as much as possible. Presently, we do secure the first floor, all openings on these buildings, and if they are publicly owned, we do charge the owners, and we probably collect somewhere around 10 to 15% of those as far as those bills and things. One of the things that I think is one of the most exciting things I've seen that we've done in a long time is really push the issue of, trying to stabilize these buildings rather than tear these buildings down. Through Prop NS, with our cooperation with LRA and the mayor's office, we've been able to, I think we're probably in the neighborhood of 60 buildings now, where we go in, we evaluate the building. I have somebody on my staff who does a work write-up and a scope, and we bid this out. Probably 95% of these contractors are smaller minority contractors. And what they're doing is things like tuck pointing, repairing roofs. In some cases, they have to do some structural work depending upon the situation. because our objective is to essentially envelope the building, put a decent roof on it, make sure that the building is watertight, and stop the freeze thaw cycle, which is what really, damages our buildings and we lose them. We then, put up to $30,000 into these buildings and sometimes a little more. And then we bid them out, and they're selling very well. And folks have essentially a contract in which they're supposed to work on this and get permits and that kind of stuff. And there's a reverter clause on that contract. And, that's working really well. I'm just very proud of the fact that we're doing that as a city. The other side of this that we're just starting is something called the Preservation Fund. And again, this is money that the mayor's office has directed toward my office. And rather it be an LRA building, we're actually going to be taking private property. And, under the building code, the requirement is that you either repair or remove whatever the conditions are on a condemned property. So what we do is we condemn the property, and we're going to actually put the money into that privately held building. And then we're going to charge the owner for the cost of it. And more than likely, it will end up becoming a building that's owned by the city, because that will be a special tax bill that will be put on that property. The law department's on board with us, and they're doing a great job. So what will happen is the buildings will become part of the city's inventory. And again, we can sell them and try and get people interested in redeveloping the building, or, it could be a developer, or it could be a smaller, individual who just wants to, do a lot of the work for themselves. And we're set up to help a lot of those people. So I wanted to mention that in general. I can give you just kind of a background on the number of buildings we're dealing with, as far as I know Alderman Todd and I had spoken, and he asked me if I could support, having the second floors completed on buildings, which I certainly love the idea. It would certainly save buildings, but I support the concept, but the practical reality for me is that, again, we have 6,836 buildings. Making an assumption that we would have just 4 openings per building on the second floor, which is probably a very, very conservative assumption. You're still talking about well over $3 million worth of boards. Right now, I get about $80,000 a year in my budget for boards. The other reality is the time it would take to do all of that, and the capital cost of getting a truck to do it. Because I would need something that could get us up to the second floor in a safe manner. So I'm thinking that just based on my numbers, we would maybe be able to do 5 a day. It would probably take us close to 5 years to actually do this. So it'd be a very expensive proposition. But, and it'd be very difficult to get help right now to do it. But that's just generally where we're at.
Interesting. Did you want to expound a little bit more on the part? I know I read something about a new partnership you had that was allowing your inspectors to be trained on a higher level on that GPS system you have, or something.
Right.
Well,
okay, so you're in the second ward, I believe, or you might be bordering the 27th. And you
Norma,
say
you need to mute yourself. All right, go right ahead.
Okay. I think what you're talking about is one of the things we've been doing is, because we need help so desperately, is we've been training a number of our people in our board up crew to become building inspectors. And while that's been successful, it on the other end has robbed me of people doing my board up. We just can't get enough people is what the problem is right now. So it's really good for our people so that they have a career, you know, in the building division. They can go from a, you know, being a board up person to a building inspector, and then you have a whole career ladder within the inspection section. So it's going well so far. I would say probably 4 or 5 of the 6 people who have started look like they're going to do pretty well for us. So
That's exciting. Very exciting.
it is.
Okay. Also we're always looking to have a better understanding of where ARPA dollars are going. And can you share with us if any expenditures have come to your department?
I believe that ARPA dollars are going to be going into the private stabilization fund. And that's the one where we'll be actually, and we just started on 2 buildings. We haven't physically started, but we've scoped out and bid out 2 buildings. I've gotten the go ahead from the mayor's office. So we're starting on those 2. And I think we have 5 million allocated toward this. So this is pretty exciting because not only can we do small residential stuff, but technically we can do large commercial things, you know, where people sit on stuff and don't take care of it. And, so hopefully that'll, you know, be something that'll be a real tool in our ability to get owners of property to act. So
Well, that's going to be helpful.
yes.
I do know that we probably have some older persons who might have some, the TIE plan is actually an opportunity for us to be better educated about the services that are available, most especially since we have so many new older persons. If you don't mind, if you have the time, I'd like to go through and allow older persons if they have a couple of questions for you, okay?
Of course, sure.
All right. Alderman Cohen. Alderman Cohen. Alderwoman Boyd. Alderman Gunther. Alderman Narayan.
No questions. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to skip Alderman Todd so he can be last and talk as long as he wants. Alderwoman Evans. Alderwoman Evans. Alderwoman Peel. Alderman Gross.
Thank you.
Okay. Alderman Lappy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have any questions. Thank you. Thank you, Frank, for coming and sharing information with us though.
Alderwoman Keys.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No questions, but I would like to just tell Frank Oswald, good to finally see your face. And thank you so much for your timely responses. Anytime I've contacted you, I truly do appreciate it.
Thank you, Alderwoman.
Okay. Alderwoman Walker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no questions, but I'd also like to thank Mr. Oswald for coming and sharing that info.
All right. Thank you. Alderman Todd.
First of all, let me thank you, Madam Chair, for your patience, in-depth knowledge, wisdom, and understanding and commitment to a better city. But let me also thank Building Division and Oswald. I've sat with him for a minute. Sat down. recently. And let me hopefully encourage him that we can board up these buildings on all floors and save the city, state, and federal government money. Because let me make this crystal clear. HUD's Housing and Urban Development at first was directed directly at the poor Black community. That's how this program got started. When I got this information when I promoted from a youth specialist and a neighborhood worker in the anti-poverty program under the late Geraldine Berry, who worked for many years with the Urban League. So her and I worked together when I was a neighborhood, when she promoted me to being a neighborhood developer under her leadership at Union Sarah Community Corporation. And at that time, my understanding with the Urban League, first of all, I worked with the Urban League for many years. First, I started off in our neighborhood with the second block unit number 2 as the president. The Urban League at that time was saying that we need a Marshall Plan. So I'm sure they would, I can't speak for them, but I'm sure they would be they will certainly be partners with us in getting these federal dollars that would pay the workers to pay the workers. And if, once we pay the workers and pay for the equipment that we need, we could write that urban HUD's money could be used to buy that equipment and also pay a salary where, and I appreciate what Building Commissioner Oswald said, the career ladder. We could have a career ladder where this money could pay, so the money is available through HUD's, because in the past I would give an example of when it was used inappropriately in many cases. First of all, the part of the ward that I represented, first Gaslight Square and this Westminster, McPherson, Olive, all those streets, and especially Westminster, there was only one house on Westminster. Now you can go down in the central west end part of the area where I represent, see that there are no vacant houses. That money from HUD's was used to do that. So if we can spend that kind of money when it was actually, and also if you look further down west of where I don't represent in the, what used to be the 25th Ward, which is now the 28th Ward and part of the 17th Ward, I would just name a few streets, Waterman, Pershing, all over in that area. Those buildings were, those windows were out. They not only put all windows in, they actually repaired all those buildings, and now you drive through that, it's a pristine area. The part that is being neglected and not being serviced, and we pay taxes. So I'm not talking about, and this, we pay city, state, and federal taxes. I'm not talking about some kind of charity or helping anybody. I'm talking about investing our tax dollars north of Del Mar, the same as Black people's tax dollars. When we use the word urban, we're talking about Black people. It's a code word for Black people. And I'm talking about returning Black people's tax dollars to make our neighborhood look the same as all the other neighborhoods, all the neighborhoods south of Del Mar. That's what I'm talking about. And this can happen. All we have to do is put the money there, pay the working people, buy the equipment that's necessary, and stop running and start returning our tax dollars the same way, because the tax dollars that were being used that were taken out of the Black community were, then they said they wanted to save tax money. What they did was build prisons. We built 14 prisons in the rural areas that cost on an average $100 million. And that's an estimate. And so we built prisons so we can put windows and doors and bars and everything else in prison and invest in prison. We can invest in North St. Louis, and those are our peoples who are being put out there in the rural areas to create jobs for predominantly white peoples again. And those same, and this is a Democratic stronghold, and those same peoples who got those jobs, building, we got, as Black people, got very few jobs hauling the material and working to build the prison, got very few jobs working at the prison. What we've done is created public works jobs for predominantly white people in the rural areas, and we've built up areas where predominantly white people live in the city, and we've gotten absolutely very little out of it as far as improving our quality of life. So this is about, again, it's the same old $14 trillion that is owed for reparations to Black people that has been estimated on the internet and other groups. And so the point I'm making is we want our tax dollars to benefit us, and they can't happen. All we need to do is follow the proposal, and we've been used, and that HUD has been used to get money for everybody else except the people that has been it has been allocated, supposed to have been allocated for. And when you look north of Del Mar, what you're looking at is a misallocation of resources to everybody except the people that it was intended for. So that's what the TIRE plan called for, is that these monies be used to improve the quality of life for the people that it has been written for. It's Chase Park Plaza, it wasn't written for them. They are not considered the urban area until they want some money. Downtown is not considered the urban area until they want to get some of the money. The Central West End is not considered the urban area until they want to get some money. Parts of South St. Louis, except the Southeast St. Louis, is not considered urban until they get ready to get some of the money that North St. Louis was supposed to get. And so I know the people are gonna say, well, they pay taxes too. Well, they also have gotten $14 trillion off our back to put in their neighborhoods. And that's why for every dollar Black people have, it is estimated that they have almost 7, 8, up to $10 to every $1 we have. And then they wonder why we have gun violence, because of the fact that the only thing which was put in predominantly by white people is a drug economy in the Black community. Okay, I'm gonna stop. But we want the money for the HUD to be used for what it has been written for. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I yield back.
All right. Alderman Todd, this has been educating to all of us. And what I'd like to say is we have now been privy to having a better understanding of what some of these departments are doing and what is available to be done in the future. And we thank you for that. And what I'd like to suggest to you, because you have been in the area of struggle for a long time, and you happen to be the alderperson for the Metropolitan Urban League building.
Right.
And in your retirement, you should be working very closely with them because they know how to go out and recruit, write grants, and a lot of the things you've talked about. I know they have a good working relationship with HUD. A lot of new things could come to the city of St. Louis. And I ask you, I beg you to take your earnest desire to make things better and be a volunteer with them and help get these things moving. I mean, they're already doing a lot, but I can only imagine what could happen if a lot of us took our time and volunteered. So
I intend to, yes.
I thank you so much. And what I'm going to also say is that all the departments that have been before us have committed themselves to making sure that the things that have concern in your plan, if they're not already there, work towards those goals, because it only benefits the city and those who are in great need. And that's what we're all here for. So I appreciate you. I hope that this helped with getting more information out. I hope that it helped enlightened those who needed to hear and understand from your perspective. I hope that did bring some resolution for you.
It does. I really appreciate it, Madam Chair, and the late Whitney Young, who was a great man. I'm sure he's looking down on us. He was the first one I had an opportunity to meet when I was very, very young. And
Yeah.
Urban League, again, I was the president of the block unit. I would continue to work, volunteer with the Urban League. And it's a great organization. That's what I would be doing with my time.
All right, sir. Thank you again. And I'd like to conclude. I want to thank Director Oswald for coming. And we heard some great things from Slate. There's great promise there. We heard really great things from Director Richardson and how they're putting equality to the spending of funds for minority businesses and assisting them. I think it's going to be good. And so it's our job to make sure that we stay vigilant and we get information to people. People need to have information. No one can help themselves if they don't know where to go.
That's right. That's right.
So I thank you, and I want to ask the committee to please say to yourself, you know, just because she's chair, she shouldn't be talking so much. But I really, really feel passionate about helping people. I didn't take this job to get a better job. I surely didn't take it for the money. And I don't take it for I don't need no honoraries or anything like that. I don't need no plaques. I don't need nothing. I just need people to be served. So thank you for indulging us. And the chair will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Everybody go out there, do the best you can, but please be safe. I pray for all of us every night.
Amen.
Thank you.
Be safe.
All right. All right, go to-